Now that inflation has had enough time to have a major impact on people's budgets, retailers across the country are starting to feel this pain. In fact, all of these companies and businesses wasted no time to raise prices on everybody during the pandemic and take advantage of the inflation and the money that was printed and just get people to spend more on everything. Well, but now that people are starting to run out of money and more purchases are being fueled by debt, people are starting to have to choose between needs and wants more often, and obviously people are choosing the needs over the wants. And so all of these retailers that jacked up prices too high are now starting to have to lower prices once again in order to get people back in the stores. It's kind of similar to what's happening with McDonald's and the fast food restaurants. In fact, you've had a bunch of retailers announce price cuts in the recent weeks in order to try to pull customers into their stores in order to entice them to spend money on things like new clothes, decorative items, arts and crafts and hobby kits, things like that. Even IKEA has slashed prices on hundreds of products to get people in there to buy this stuff, because the reality is nobody needs to buy a new desk or a new sofa right now. Nobody needs to buy arts and craft kits. Nobody needs any of that stuff, but we all need gas, food, shelter, and the stuff that has gone up the most in price with inflation. You know, IKEA is trying to get people to buy dinnerware sets for $30, you know, and bookcases for $200, and a bed frame with storage, you know, for $500. Like, nobody needs that stuff. If you already have one, you don't need a new one. I have a bed frame that's, you know, 12 years old at this point. It still works, still holds my mattress. This is also the same reason why restaurants are suffering, because even though people need to eat, they don't need to eat at a restaurant. And more people are opting to spend the money at the grocery store and cook at home. But what this is, guys, is another sign that the economy is not as strong as we're being told, because we cannot forget that 80% of GDP here in the US is solely based on consumer spending. So if that's slowing down and people are not buying all this stuff that they once were pre-pandemic, that means we're likely heading into a recession, or we're already in one. And the funny thing is, you would think that it's just people who earn less money that are cutting back, but that's actually not the case either. Even high-income earners are starting to tighten up their wallets as well, because even if you make a lot of money, you're feeling the squeeze of this inflation too. You're seeing the price of your food go up. You're seeing your property taxes go up. You're seeing your insurance bill go up. You're seeing your car insurance bill go up, all these different things. And high income earners are realizing that maybe they should be saving a higher chunk of that income for a rainy day. But retailers are freaking out over this because they're just not able to pull people in like before. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to trick people out of the frugal mindset right now, which I hope this doesn't work. You know, I understand they're trying to stay in business and, you know, they're trying to feed their families too. But to get people to spend money on frivolous items during times like this, when people can barely afford the bare necessities, it's manipulation, you know. It's advertising that manipulates you into thinking you need something that you don't. Retail sales are barely still positive. They went up 0.7% in March from February, but February's was 0.9%. So even though it's going up slightly, it's not going up by that much. And remember, we're just talking about retail sales. So that just means how many dollars were spent at retail stores. So you could easily say that there was probably no increase at all, and the slight increase that they are seeing is just due to inflation and the items that people are buying costing more money. This isn't necessarily that people are spending more on frivolous items. It just means they're spending more on the things that they have to buy. Because some people who say that things are still going well will say, well, look at this, you know, the retail spending has increased in 7 of the past 10 months through March of 2024. But once again, guys, if the spending has increased, it just means that people are spending more money on the items that we all buy. We all know this. Everybody buys stuff, whether you buy it online or at the store or both. You're realizing that the stuff you're buying that you were already buying before costs more. So naturally, the sales volume for these companies is going to go up. The dollar volume that they're bringing in is going up, even if you're just buying the same exact basket of goods. But they say people are still buying high-ticket items like cars, and also there's been robust online buying and spending on services such as restaurants, which is funny since restaurants are struggling right now, but like I covered last time we talked about this, there are some restaurants that are doing extremely well right now, like Chipotle and Wingstop and Texas Roadhouse. Those restaurants are still crushing it, even though we're in recessionary times, because why? They haven't jacked their prices to the moon. But they're saying spending is definitely going down in other categories like on furniture, clothing, sporting goods, and electronics. A lot of retailers are saying that discretionary spending is slowing down. People are buying essentials. They're also trading down in prices and calling it a day. And they say in here, well, if you want to convince consumers to spend, you have to give them a reason to do so. Lower prices are a clear opportunity to drive people into the store or online. Like, yeah, no kidding. That's what everybody wants with everything. Housing, food, gas, stuff at the retail store. Everybody wants low prices, right? Except for the Fed and our government, because they call that deflation. So this is bad news according to them. Walmart's already gearing up to bring more people into the store this year by cutting their grocery prices, which obviously is probably going to bring a lot of people in. And it's not so that Walmart will make more money on groceries. They're hoping that you're going to walk around the store and buy other things that you need where the profit margins are higher. Basically, what they want to do, guys, is convince you to open your wallet and spend. That is the number one goal of any retailer. In fact, IKEA is so desperate right now that they're saying they are lowering prices more than they ever have before. And they are definitely guilty of raising prices during the pandemic as well. So things are starting to come full circle for them too. IKEA is saying that the last 6 to 8 months of business has been the slowest they've ever seen, guys. Think about that. The slowest they've ever seen. And we're not even officially in a recession yet. How are these figures going to look? That's what I keep wondering. How are all these numbers going to look once we really are in the recession, once they can't deny it anymore? I think it's going to be way worse than most people are expecting it to be, considering all this is happening now. Michaels, the arts and crafts store, they said they're dropping prices on over 5,000 products in their store in order to deliver exceptional value for every customer looking to stretch their dollar. So once again, people don't really need stuff from a store like Michaels. They don't need to go in there and buy arts and crafts stuff or fabrics or paints. That's all hobby stuff. That's all luxury items that people don't really need but can afford to buy when they have a few extra bucks in their pocket, which is not right now. So they're going to be doing things like cutting the price on things like markers and pens by 15%, cutting down like glue and paper up to 20%, and painting canvases are going to be up to 35% cheaper. These are some major price cuts in these stores to try to get people through the door, guys. H&M, the clothing store, they said they're going to be lowering the prices, but it's going to take them until the end of the year to get prices down. But they said by the end of this year, prices are going to be lower than where we started the year. Even Chuck E. Cheese is hurting right now, and they said that they're going to be making budget-friendly efforts to make it a more affordable destination for families. And they said they're going to be lowering prices of their games and offering 50% off on foods and drinks as part of a new summer promotion, guys. So you can't even get the birthday parties at Chuck E. Cheese's anymore. They got to lower prices for stuff like that. And once again, I challenge you to tell me how this is a sign of a strong economy, because there's still a lot of people think that things are going well. So tell me, if businesses have to do this, how does that mean things are going well? Just answer that question. Because as far as I see it, if business was going well for all these companies, they would be raising their prices, because that's what happens when you have enough sales going on and things happening to the point where, well, we feel like we can raise our prices because business is going so well. People are still going to come in, right? But instead, the opposite is happening. They're not getting people to come in. They know people are going broke, and they're saying, we need to lower prices before we go out of business. And a lot of this is starting to show up little by little in the economic data, guys. In fact, the U.S. weekly jobless claims hit its highest level since August of 2023 this past week, and the number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits is now at an 8-month high. Unemployment claims for the week ending May 4th rose by 22,000 people, and now it's up to 231,000, which the week before it was at 209,000 according to the Labor Department. But they say, well, this isn't really anything to be concerned about. This is still a relatively low number of layoffs, and just look the other way. That's what they always say until you know what hits the fan. Even the 4-week average of claims is starting to rise. It rose by 4,750 to 215,000 weekly unemployment claims. This is a sign of what's to come, guys. Things are finally starting to move in the direction that we've been talking about here on the channel. A lot of people have said, oh, you're wrong, Michael, it's not happening. Well, I'm not wrong, I was just early. I've said this a few times before, being wrong and being early are not the same. Whatever I said was going to happen is happening. It's just not happening at the rate that I thought and many other people thought that it would. So you have the layoffs picking up, you have the unemployment claims ticking up. At the same time, the number of jobs openings are going down. Okay, we've had the lowest jobs reading in April that we saw in the last 6 months, and the unemployment rate ticked up to 3.9%. So you know the next tick is going to be over 4% in the near future. Once we get in the 5% range, that's easily signals we're in a recession. So we're not that far away. The government also reported 8.5 million job openings in March, which is the lowest number of vacancies in 3 years. So it looks like all the pandemic euphoria with this economy is over. They're even starting to say now that maybe because all this stuff is starting to weaken up to this point, that this could be enough now to make the Fed do their first rate cut pretty soon. You still have more and more companies announcing layoffs that are still coming, like Google, its parent company Alphabet, and Apple, eBay have all recently announced layoffs. You have other companies like Peloton and Stellantis, Nike, Tesla. I mean, right now we have almost 1.8 million Americans collecting unemployment benefits during the last week of April, guys. And that's up 17,000 from the previous week. So more and more people are going on unemployment, more and more companies are laying people off, but things are great. Check this out, guys. This building is an absolute behemoth. I've come over here and shown you guys a few times when they were putting this thing up. Now it's already as tall as it's ever gonna be. Look how much it towers over these other buildings. And these buildings are already pretty big, but it's just massive. This has to be the tallest or the second tallest building in Miami Beach. Now, obviously, the Fed and the government are on this seesaw right now of should we cut rates, should we not cut rates, or should we even raise rates, because they don't want to look bad. They want things to go well for this upcoming election season. But I think no matter what they do, it's not going to matter, guys. If they start cutting rates, it's going to signal that the recession is official. If they keep rates where they are now, it's going to continually put added pressure on the economy. If they raise rates, it's going to increase the amount of pressure on businesses and the amount of people that need to borrow money and everything. So no matter what they do, we're in trouble. But the Fed, they are so concerned about when to lower rates that they'd be better off if they just let the market do its thing and take rates higher if that's what needs to happen, because you're already seeing it happening with the Treasury yields, guys. I just saw another story today talking about how the 10-year Treasury went up again slightly, and it's getting back close to that 5% range. I mean, the Fed, they want their federal funds rate to fall to about 2.6%, and right now it's at 5.33%. But the thing is, the 10-year Treasury keeps going higher, and that's because the expected inflation for the future is higher, guys. People who are buying these bonds know that we're going to see higher inflation moving forward, that this is not going to get squashed as easily or as quickly as they've been telling us. If you rewind 40 years ago, inflation was at 4%, but the 10-year Treasury was at 7.4%. And the S&P 500 back then was returning about 10.5% per year. But now, the stock market is completely predicated on a future rate cut. I mean, they were basing everything on 7 rate cuts this year, guys, and now there might not be any. So the over-evaluation there is unbelievable. Here's the funny thing. They're letting in all these illegal immigrants into the country, right? Like, they're just pouring in here still. But the problem is it requires more housing and infrastructure. This all makes inflation and the pressure on interest rates go even higher. They've literally gotten to a point where no matter what they do at this point moving forward to try to save the election, or whether it's try to artificially boost the economy, it's not going to work in the long run. It might work for a few months or a year, but it's not going to work for much longer than that. Right now, consumer expectations, as surveyed by the University of Michigan and the New York Fed, think that inflation is going to run between 2.5% and 3% over the next 5 years. So basically, it's not going anywhere, and it's definitely not going to reach the 2% goal during this time frame that they keep telling us that it will. So people are starting to realize that it's not happening, guys. You know, it's not like I'm exactly happy that all this is happening, because I know there are going to be people out there that are going to suffer from this. But the thing that does make me happy about it is it shows us that the government and the Fed are not immune to the laws of the universe, the laws of physics. They think they can just mess with and manipulate the numbers forever and print more money, and somehow that's going to fix everything indefinitely. And we're starting to see now that that's actually not going to be the case. It's just the sad thing is people who didn't make these decisions are going to suffer from these decisions. But on the other hand, these people who are making the decisions are just going to ride off into the sunset. They're going to be fine. You think, you know, Jerome Powell is going to have issues with money when he retires soon? No. You think the current administration is going to have financial troubles once they're out of office? No, they're all going to be fine. But yet you're the one who gets to deal with their bad decisions and actually suffer from them. And I know there's not much you can do, guys, except you can make sure you're out of debt. You can make sure some of your money is saved in gold and silver, which is real money. You can make sure your excess cash is earning at least 5% interest right now with a high yield savings or treasury accounts. Like, those are all just simple little things that anybody can do, okay? And I know some of it might sound easier said than done, but it's necessary if you want to have any shot of making it through this recession. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.